finale of the League of Europe Gran Turismo Sport Porsche Cup season, Division 1. We're here at Laguna Seca. There are two drivers that could win the championship here tonight. It's either going to be QVR Campbell or SMM Palmer. Campbell is obviously the man to beat. He has the gap at the top of the standings of, I believe, about 31 points. So he just needs to finish in pretty much a top 8 or so position, which is going to be possible here with only 10 drivers this evening. But what I'm going to do before we get underway is invite some of the drivers to a pre-race interview, as it's the season finale. A little bit of fun and a bit of insight into what's going through their heads. It would be really interesting to see who, the thoughts of Palmer and Campbell going into this race. So I will invite, I'm going to invite James Head first, as he is someone who said he was up for an interview. If I go in my friends list and I invite James first, so hopefully he joins. If not, we'll move on to Palmer. He's currently driving. He's paused it, so he's seen the invite. Is he going to join? He's paused. Everyone's lining up. Everyone lining up for a little bit of a show going on there. That's quite interesting to see. I wonder if James is actually going to join. I'll send him another invite. If not, we will move on to Palmer. Oh, James has joined. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Great. Okay, so you're currently top of the timing sheets in this practice session. What's your thoughts going into this race, the final race of the season?
I'm just hoping to get round, to be honest. Obviously, the Laguna Seca being a difficult track, it is going to be quite difficult, I think, to judge, really, the cornering speed, especially when the tyres get worn. I'm just looking forward to it, to be honest, and as long as I can outscore Jackster, I'll be ahead of him in the championship.
Good stuff. What are your predictions for what's going to happen at the top of the standings tonight?
Oh, I tell you what, if Campbell has an act of God, then obviously Palmer would win the championship. But I don't want to take anything away from Campbell. I think he might run away with this, to be honest. I think he might win. Palmer would be second, and I'm going to go me for cheeky third. Why not?
Solid prediction there. Okay, thank you for joining for this quick interview. We'll if you head off and get some more practice in, I'll invite Palmer next, and then we'll move on to Campbell. Cheers for that. So next we will speak to Palmer, doing a bit of a Martin Brundle here, working our way up the grid, watching people that are lined up at the corkscrew, one of the best circuits, one of the best corners in the world. So Palmer has joined the party. Quick interview with Palmer now. What are your thoughts heading into this final race of the season with a potential championship up ahead?
Well, of course, from how I see it, it's going to be quite unlikely that I'm going to get the championship. So I'm just going to have fun out there. Of course, put the last 2 races behind me. You know, hopefully I can have some good battles in that. Yeah. Not really much to say.
Not really much you can do, so you just got. Are you hoping for a win? How are you feeling about your pace round here?
I don't know. It's sort of progressively got better over the course of the past couple of hours, but I don't know. I'm not feeling too confident. You know, I'm dipping the wheels into the the sand a lot, and the tyres seem to go off very, very quickly. So I think the race is definitely going to be about who can keep the tyres in the best working order, as well, of course, being one of the pace. But yeah, I think it's definitely going to be an interesting race. But yeah, I'm not too confident going into it. but I'm just looking forward to having some fun.
Stuff. Well, if you head off, I will invite Campbell, and then we'll be able to get underway with the season finale. Best of luck, and hopefully it'll be a good race. So there's Palmer there. Obviously, he has a chance of winning the title tonight, but he really is relying on a mistake or bad luck or anything like that towards his title rival QVR Campbell, who we are just inviting to the party now. Once he joins, we'll have a quick interview, and then we will be able to get going with the final race of the season. Running a gold livery tonight, as you can see there. Obviously being a bit very optimistic. Campbell has joined the party now. First things first, I see you wearing an all gold livery tonight. Is that a sign of your confidence?
It may look like it, but it's more the car number 401. It's the number of days I've been part of QVR. Ticked over 400 since I joined yesterday, and it was 401 today, so I thought, why not? We'll make something special but different. It's the last race of the season, go out and enjoy it.
Fair enough, and maybe it'll bring you some good luck as well. What are your thoughts going into this final race of the season, with the championship being yours to take at this late stage?
I think it's just bring the car home at this point. Take no risks. You could say there's pressure on, but I don't feel any pressure because of the point gap and the attendance today. It's really looking like it's just bring the car home in a somewhat decent position, and I should be okay.
How confident are you feeling on your pace tonight?
It's one lap pace seems not bad, but it's consistency that might be the more of the issue here, because of you've got the big sausage cabs in inside of most corners. The corkscrew and worn tyres can maybe catch you out, and then of course you've got the sand at the exit of
everywhere.
Here.
Everywhere.
If you put one wheel in it, you're dragged wide. So
exactly, yeah.
Just look to minimise mistakes for the whole race, and yeah, get the car home.
Of course, looking for a champion's drive tonight. Well, thank you for joining, Campbell. We'll let you head off to prepare for the race, which is just about to start. Best of luck to everyone tonight, and I wonder how it's going to end up. So if you head off now, we'll let them know they can start the race. Cheers. See you in a bit. So just letting V5 know that qualifying is ready. We are ready to start qualifying. We've done all the interviews. Qualifying now about to begin. Conrad Racing setting the fastest time of the practice session so far, but it looks like not many people have actually set. There's a few donuts going on at the corkscrew, so maybe not a completely representative pre-race practice there. But here we go. 15-minute qualifying about to begin. People getting out of the pits. Is anyone going to be stuck? Hopefully not. Let's cycle through. No one looking stuck at the moment, and everyone is out. So following QVR Campbell in his new gold livery, especially for this race, his 401st day as a QVR driver, celebrating his 400th day, of course. And maybe a bit of optimism there. Maybe it will bring him some good luck with that gold champions colour. Maybe that will bring him the luck of a champion tonight. Although he doesn't really need much luck, he just needs minimal bad luck. I believe he needs 8th or above, and there's only 11 drivers, so they would have to, and Palmer would obviously have to win. Palmer has to win tonight to be in with a shout of winning the title. But he's also relying on Campbell. He has to have a 4. He has to gain on him by he has to win, and then let me get my maths right in my head. There's a 31-point gap. Palmer obviously has to outscore him by 31 points. So as long as Campbell gets 4 points, which I believe is 8th position, he will win the title here tonight. Speaking of Campbell, let's ride on board with him, if my keyboard will work. We'll ride on board for a lap of Laguna Seca, my favourite track, well, my second favourite probably after Suzuka. Really love this place. Coming up to the Andretti hairpin now, which is technically turn 2 after that first corner. Keeping it tight, you really don't want to run too wide because you'll just lose a lot of time throughout the corner. Carry the speed through. Coming up to this right-hander now, turn 4. You've really got to carry the speed through these two corners. under the Cooper tyres bridge, through the next right-hander. Really nice sequence of corners here, but incredibly easy to touch a wheel on the grass, and then that is you off into a wall. I really love this track. This is one of my favourite tracks to drive, and it's a great circuit. Coming up to the Rahal straight now, this is the hardest, second hardest after the corkscrew corner. Coming up towards the famous corkscrew now, one of the most infamous corners in the world. Completely blind downhill, drops 4 stories I believe, as Chai's in front of him gets a really squirrely exit. I realise why my keyboard isn't working, it's not plugged in. That may help slightly. But it's going to be Chai's crossing the line first, with Campbell coming across just behind him as we come across the line with Campbell. Now let's see. Campbell currently sets the fastest time. James Head crosses the line. Jackster is about to cross as well. Palmer, the man on a mission, he sets the provisional pole time. A good start from him there. That's what he really needs. He really needs to really, if I can say really any more time, he really needs to make the most out of this. He needs every single advantage he can possibly gain to win this title here tonight. He needs a win, and he needs bad luck from Campbell. Is he going to get both? Is one going to happen or the other? He's currently he's a 10th up on this second lap as well. Palmer really trying to be on it. He runs slightly wide there at turn 5, up to turn 6 now. No, that was turn 4. He's up to turn 5 now, sorry. Come up towards the fastest corner on the track. Incredibly difficult to get right. You really need to carry the speed through, but if you carry too much speed, you're onto that gravel trap on the right, and then probably in a wall or losing about 5 seconds up the hill. Coming through the corkscrew, one of the hardest corners in the world. Into the final section, really swooping left, right, and then a really hard, tight left-hander for the it's about 80-degree corner here. Oh, he pulls into the pit, so he must have lost a bit of time in that middle sector. He's coming into the pit lane now. He's going to change his tyres. Campbell sets a provisional pole time of a 1:21.2, so a 4/10 improvement on his best lap. He's actually overtaken Chais, who comes back on him. Ooh. James Head in third. That's his prediction. This is the prediction at the moment. This was James's prediction for the race. It could be right for qualifying as well. Campbell, Palmer and James Head in third. Chais is in fourth, not too far behind them. Jaxter's in fifth. J. Cole in 6th. V5 in 7th. Conrad in 8th. Dan in 9th. Kyle in 10th. And Whiteout in 11th. Now, what's interesting, as I'm getting a call, what's interesting is the ART drivers, as Kyle does make an improvement after a slow, probably fuel-burning lap, as he burns some more fuel now. What's interesting is the ART drivers have both claimed in their Racing Driver Book of Excuses that they've been driving the new, or ACC has come out on consoles, which is a brilliant game on PC, I must add. ACC, Assetto Corsa Competizione, as they say in Italy, has been released on PS4. I believe people first were able to play it today, and they said they've been driving it all day and they really are struggling with GT Sport. I don't know how truthful that is. Maybe that's how they feel, but they may be just as on the pace as usual. But Kyle only in 5th has as I've got rid of all the race info there, let's try and get that back. Whiteout is still in 11th. Is he going to make an improvement? He's on his first flying lap now. Looks like he's had a couple fuel saving laps and a pit stop. So let's ride on board, coming through turn 4. Oh, no, that's not going to be an improvement. Well, there's going to be an improvement if he stays on this lap, as of course his other laps were 30-odd seconds off the pace. But he's doing some more fuel saving now. We've got a comment on the stream. Let's have a look. I'm sort of trying to keep my focus, as I've got one eye on the Man United game tonight. We're 2-0 up, so hopefully that can stay. Sharon, of course, wishing her son some good luck. Oh, on the out lap now, so even if you went wide, that wouldn't matter there. But it's currently Campbell, the man to beat. Palmer is on a flying lap as well, coming up to the corkscrew. Does he get this right? He's taken it pretty nicely so far. Loses the back end slightly, but that won't cost him too much. Runs out nice and wide. Swoops into the left-hander. Runs out wide to the right, then goes back to the left for the right-hander. Carrying the speed nicely there. Jaxter ahead of him goes into the pits. Braking at the 3 marker, then running out wide to the AstroTurf. Powering up towards the line. I don't know if this is going to be an improvement actually. It's going to be close. He makes a small improvement. Only 0.03 of a second between these two drivers now as Campbell is starting his lap as well. This is definitely going to be interesting. It's going to be a close battle between these two. Pat Palmer, although he said he'll be trying to have as much fun as he can in this race, we all know he's definitely going to be pushing as hard as he can. And rightly so, you've got to say. But it's going to be difficult. You've got to say it's going to be difficult for him to win the title here tonight. But we've seen crazier things happen. We have definitely seen crazier things happen in the real world and in this league. So, Campbell is actually a 10.5 down on his previous best. I don't think Palmer's making an improvement. He may be. Coming in the final sector now. Let's see if he does manage to improve. No, he pulls into the pit lane. So, no improvement for Palmer yet. James Head in a strong 3rd position, crosses the line, does not improve. Chice is currently just come across the line. He did not improve either. He's going for a lap now. Let's ride on board with the 2nd SMM driver. He's going to be maybe held up slightly by Campbell ahead of him as he dips a wheel onto the grass. Only 6 minutes remaining of this qualifying session now. Palmer really squirrely through there onto the Rahal straight, getting a nice slipstream from Campbell, but you don't really want a slipstream here as it's really a you don't want a slipstream because you want as much grip as you can through the corners. But Chies is improving by over 0.3 of a second, so maybe this slipstream is helping him, and he's just keeping it as he's run slightly wide there in the penultimate corner, but maybe this slipstream is helping him slightly. Nice and early on the throttle. He seems to have dropped back a bit from Campbell there. James Head sets a new lap time, stays 3rd fastest, and Chies makes an improvement of about 0.3 of a second. So the top 4 only separated by half a second, so that is pretty close at the moment. Campbell setting very consistent lap times, but not quite at his best yet. Kyle sets a new lap time. He goes 5th, but Jaxter has just set his latest lap time. Has done a 21.1, and he's gone just under a 10th onto provisional pole. So that's a surprise. I did not expect to see him shoot to the top of the standings this early. Still 4.5 minutes remaining. Campbell is probably going to pit this lap, you would have to think. Who's he behind? Is that that's James Head in front of him. And there's a yellow flag up ahead as someone has spun at the 3rd to last corner. I believe that was Conrad Racing. Whitehouse still in 11th, hasn't set a lap time yet. So is this finally gonna be the lap where he improves? Let's see as he is coming up after the corkscrew is the next timing line. Oh, that wasn't particularly good through there. Turn number 6. Coming on to the corkscrew now. Let's see how well he does this. Any lap time at the moment being improvement on his. He hasn't set a single proper lap yet. He's 15 seconds up, so that will put him 1.4 seconds behind provisional pole, who is Jaxter. Whiteout down in the last corner. powering towards the finish line now. Let's see if he makes an improvement. Only 3 minutes left of this session now. He jumps to 6th, less than a 10th behind his teammate. Campbell still hasn't pitted. That is interesting. Maybe he's just going for one lap at the end as he's run onto the gravel there. Oh, that was close there. That was a Code Brown moment. Palmer is on a lap. He's currently a quarter of a 10th up on his previous best. As I've got a few notifications. Anything from the stream? No. As I'm just going to check the Man United score. Still 2-0. So Palmer coming through now, the next timing line. He's 2.5 tenths down, so this will not be an improvement unless he finds a few tenths in the last sector, which he might well do. Very easy to lose and find time in this around this track, but he comes in. He's going to get 2 more laps in, or an outlap. He's going to get an outlap and a flying lap in. So is Campbell. Jackster is coming across the line on his outlap now. Let's go onto a wider camera view. James Head is in 4th, Kyle in 5th, Whiteout in 6th. Chai is only 3 thousandths of a second behind Whiteout. Campbell comes across out of the pit lane, but he jumps out of the way of the side Max Motorworks driver. Chais is currently purple. Purple first sector for Chais, so that is interesting. Is Chais going to be a dark horse in this race? He's definitely really improved on his pace recently. Has been a contender for a few podiums, but bad luck or mistakes have cost him. But he could be one to watch out for in this qualifying session as he got that purple first sector. Let's have a look to see if he is going to improve. We'll see the timing line after the corkscrew. And we've got another comment. Only 4 viewers, so let's try and get some more people watching the championship finale. I missed if he was up. I think I saw a blinker red, but I can't be too sure. Chais only makes an improvement of 0.03 of a second. He's going to have another opportunity now, but it is Campbell coming across the line now. Let's ride on board for his final lap of the session. Is he going to be able to take that pole away from Jackster? Jackster's just come across the line and he's made another improvement, so he's currently 3 tenths clear at the top of the timing sheets for the time being. Let's see if Campbell or Palmer can take that top step from him. Campbell 0.07 of a second up in the first sector, but he's run wide. That's going to cost him a tiny bit of time. That could be the difference between him getting pole here tonight. He's going to carry the speed nicely through turn 5, up towards turn 6 under the bridge. Really fast corner. He takes that pretty carefully. Doesn't really carry as much speed as you would like to through there. Palmer only 300 of a second behind him on the timings. Coming through the corkscrew now. Campbell's got a little bit of traffic ahead of him, but it shouldn't really impede him as they're coming to the end of the lap now. He's 4.5 hundredths of a second up. Coming to the last sector now. I don't know if he's going to get pole here. He's going to have to find a lot of time in this last sector as Conrad Racing ahead of him goes off, but regains control. Oh, that's a pretty scruffy last corner. Let's see if there's an improvement made. Campbell comes across the line now and he does not take pole position, so Campbell will not be on pole here tonight. Can Palmer do anything to upset Jackster's maiden pole position? Is he going to jump his championship rival Campbell? He comes across the line now. He does make an improvement, but it's not quite enough. He retains 3rd position, and that is a qualifying session over. Jackson on pole, Campbell in 2nd, and Palmer in 3rd. James Head was in 4th, and once the rest of the timing sheets come up, we will be able to see the rest of the grid order. So Jackster starts on pole, Campbell in 2nd, Palmer in 3rd, James Head 4th, Kyle in 5th, Chais in 6th, Whiteout 7th, V5 8th, J. Cole 9th, Dan 10th, and Conrad Racing rounds out the back of the field in 11th position. Can we get a better camera angle? Jackster starting on pole position. The lights are about to go out and he's jumped the start. Jackster jumps the start, he's cracked under the pressure, and that is a big mistake from him there, and Campbell is in the lead, Palmer just behind him. James Head, Kyle is up into third, James Head is down to fourth. Palmer looking around the outside of turn 1 and 2, but he's not going to get that move done unless he can really hang it round. No, that's not going to happen there. Chise has made his way up to third, so a great start from him there. Palmer looking up the inside of the next corner, there's not really much room to overtake there. Chise looking around the outside, and James Head looking around the inside of him. It's all kicking off at the start of this race. Really interesting start we got there, and Campbell is the one to beat at the moment. Palmer in second, Chise in third, James Head fourth, Kyle in fifth, Conrad sixth, Dan in seventh, Whiteout in eighth. Jackster from pole position is down to ninth position, and he's about to be overtaken down into 10th. So a really poor start from Jackster there. Campbell leads ahead of Palmer, and I need to have a quick drink of water. I've got no water in my room, so I'm going to have to probably get some in a bit once the race dies down a little bit, as my throat is really beginning to hurt. But it's Campbell who leads us out of the first lap of the race. Palmer is in second, Chise in third, James Head fourth, Kyle in fifth. Yep, it's 31 points Mark and Car Cannon, 31 points separates the top two. At the moment, Campbell will be winning the championship here tonight. The field already beginning to spread out slightly. Oh, my throat is really hurting after that hectic start. Mark says you will not have the drink. Oh, I need the drink. I'm having a bit of a Kimmy moment. I haven't even got my steering wheel up here either. But Palmer is going to be really pushing to try and get past Campbell now. He's looking up the inside of the next corner. He makes a move, but there's no room to make a move there. Campbell hopping over the curb slightly. Campbell, remember, only needs, I think, about 8th position to win the title here tonight, as there's a big gap between Kyle and Whiteout. I'm not quite sure what has happened there. We must have missed an incident or something going behind them, because that is a big gap of 4.5 seconds between the two ART drivers as Dan nearly hits the wall on the exit of the final corner. Palmer right on the back of Campbell. That is the closest battle we have at the moment. James Head in third. Oh, no, I say that, but this is a much closer battle we have right now. The battle for third place. James Head in third, Chise in fourth, and Kyle in fifth position. But this is an incredibly difficult track to overtake at. It's all going to have to be down to strategy. So let's see who pulls the trigger on the first pit stop. We're almost 4 minutes into this race. We're on lap 3. A really hectic start as Jackster went down to 10th position from pole on the very first lap of the race. That's Jackster overtaking V5 up into 8th position. V5, of course, on the mediums as his usual preferred strategy. As Kyle is really on the back of Chise now, if I can get the right camera. No, I will not have the camera. There we go. Oh, he runs slightly deep at the Andretti hairpin. Okay, so I'm going to run and get some water. I'll be as quick as I can. but we'll leave you with this camera angle for 2 minutes. Now the race has sort of started to spread out slightly, and it's going to be I just don't want to miss the pit stop, so give me 2 minutes and I'll be right back with you. Welcome back everyone. It looks like I haven't really missed much, but what I have missed is Campbell has extended that gap to 1.2 seconds. Palmer is now really under attack. Palmer is really under attack from James Head behind him in third. Chise is fourth and Kyle is still down in fifth position. Whiteout has caught up a second or so in those couple of laps as these guys ahead have been battling. So Palmer looking to be the cork in the bottle at the moment. Sorry for my short absence, but of course commentating on the hottest day of the year. Yeah, it's tough commentating on the hottest day of the year at the best of times, but without any water it's even harder. So I've got some water now, we're ready to watch the rest of this race unfold. James really on the back of Palmer. Now let's have a look at the fuel and tyre situation. Campbell's tyres are by far the best, it looks like. They all have pretty similar fuel levels. Campbell has really been saving those tyres. Just over half an hour remains of this race. We're almost a quarter of the way through. I've also just burnt my tongue on some food, so it's not going great for me tonight, but we'll fight through the pain. Oh, there's been an, oh, is that an incident for Chise there? No, he's pitted. Okay, I thought there was an incident there. He's on his out lap. Sorry for missing that. But looks like Kyle maybe has had an incident. His tyres are pretty screwed. Whiteout is really close to his teammate now. Jax has made a pretty good recovery from 10th position up to 6th. Really unfortunate for what happened to him at the start of the race, but no excuses for it, just cracked under the pressure. but Campbell leads by 1.5 seconds. Palmer's pulled away a short, if I can speak, he's pulled away a slightly larger gap to James Head behind him now. Kyle in 4th, Whiteout in 5th. Whiteout is really on the back of him now. Only 8/10 separate them. There must have been an incident for Kyle on that previous lap. On lap 6 it looks like he lost a couple of seconds. But Campbell, a champion's drive at the moment. He really will need some bad luck or a massive screw up to lose this title now. Palmer doing everything he can, but he can't quite do enough. I don't think there's going to be an is that Glock moment for the time being unless there is a mistake from Campbell. But he's been so consistent all season, it's going to be doubtful that he would make one. Palmer has made a pit stop there. Sorry, I was on mute for a second, as I'm just checking something, so sorry I'm missing some of the action. I've just missed a Martial hat-trick, so this is going to be a good night for me no matter what happens. But it's worth it to watch this championship finale. I'll have to watch it back in a bit. Hat-trick for Martial. Commentating on a league, what can be better than that? Sorry for outing myself as a Manchester United fan. I'm sure I'm going to get lots of hate for that. But Campbell has pulled into the pits now to try and cover off Palmer, making an undercut. Palmer's got pretty clear air in front of him. He's only coming across V5 towards the end of this lap. Is there going to be a change in the lead, as Jackster is in the lead now, but of course he is not pitted yet after that really disappointing start for him. So it looks like, yes, Palmer, it's going to be close. Who's going to come out ahead? It's going to be Palmer. Palmer comes out just ahead of Campbell. Let's have a look. There must have been a fuel differential there. Campbell's got a little bit more fuel than the SMM driver. So Palmer can really bring himself back into this race. If he can save his track position, it's going to be key tonight. Yes, track position definitely going to be key this evening, as it's so difficult to overtake here. So Palmer in the lead. If he can save enough fuel and cover off being jumped by Campbell in this pit stop, he is going to have a really good chance to win this race. Not going to win the title as it stands, even if he leads. But it's a brilliant... it could be a brilliant strategy call from the SMM driver. So Palmer needs to save some fuel now. He needs to keep that track position. He can do that. This is his best opportunity. The best chance he has of winning this race now is to save as much fuel as he possibly can. It's going to be a tough ask, but this could be a win for Palmer. He's got the advantage right now on track, but strategy-wise, Campbell definitely has the advantage. Chais is all the way down in 6th position, so I'm not quite sure what has happened to him. There must have been an incident with him and Kyle earlier on when we thought there might have been. So Palmer leads. He's got a gap of about 8/10 of a second, so a pretty nice gap he has there. I can't tell, but is that fuel differential getting closer? Maybe Palmer is saving fuel. I wish that I could bloody tell, but of course GT Sport doesn't allow me to see his HUD. Or MFD, maybe whichever one. It won't let me switch to see his fuel mode. He's not short shifting, I can tell you that. He's going right up to the rev limiter from what we can see here. The gap is getting really close now. It's only 3.5 tenths, up to 4 tenths. Palmer getting a better run up towards the corkscrew. So Palmer in control on track at the moment, but he's going to have a tough ask to stay ahead of Campbell. He's got to be saving fuel, but it doesn't look like he's saving, or if he is, he's not saving as much as Campbell is. There's still a pretty big gap in the fuel level. James Head not too far behind them. He's got a pretty decent amount of fuel as well, but Campbell has the most for the time being. V5 is on his soft stint now. He's done his tyre requirements, so is most of the grid, I believe. I don't see there being an on-track overtake, so it doesn't. I can't tell if that fuel gap is getting any closer. I don't think it is. Palmer may be making the wrong call here by not saving as much fuel as he could be, because at the moment, as it stands, Campbell is going to jump him in the pits. So what Campbell has to do now is just keep it calm. Don't go for any silly overtakes. Do not make a mistake now. The last thing he wants is a mistake. If he loses out on this championship because of a mistake, he will be fuming. He'll be fuming either way if he does not win the championship tonight, with a 31-point gap going in to the last round of the season here. Gap now only 3 tenths of a second, and this is really allowing James Head to catch up to the back of them as well. And as a result of that, Whiteout and Kyle will also be catching, as Whiteout actually serves a penalty, so that's going to ruin his chances of catching up for the time being. And they're going to be in a right scrap with his teammate Kyle now. I don't think he's going to be he's not going to be close enough to make a move, but the gap is now only 6 tenths of a second. Chais is right behind. He's just got past V5, it looks like. Jackster right behind him as well. Yeah, that fuel gap does not look to be getting any closer. And Palmer's tyres, although they're only a lap older, they really seem to be struggling at the moment, as I must take another drink. The gap extending slightly now, so maybe Campbell is saving a little bit of fuel now, just trying to extend that advantage after the pit stop. That's allowing James Head to really hunt him down now. Or as Campbell runs slightly wide up towards the final corner, he's going to have to go defensive, but returns back to the racing line. All this is allowing Palmer to build a slight gap, but there is a big fuel difference. Well, not big, but it's going to be big in the context of this race, as the gap is only less than a second between these two drivers. It's definitely going to be close. Chais comes in for his second pit stop now, as I've got to stand up to cool off. So, oh, it's bloody hot. 30 degrees, hottest day of the year. It is tough, but I'm sure it's even tougher for the drivers out here tonight. Probably about the same temperature as it would be in California right now, where they're racing virtually tonight. Half a second gap as Campbell's really beginning to close up again. He's pulled away from James Head. Is there any fuel saving? That gap does seem to be getting slightly closer, but I don't think it's going to be enough. I really don't see there being a big fuel. It doesn't seem like Palmer's fuel saving very much, and if he is, he's not quite saving as much as Campbell is. As we've got another comment on the stream. Thank you, Mark, for your comments. 20 minutes and then this season will be all over and we will have a champion. It looks like it's going to be Campbell at the time being, but you can never know until the race is done. It's not over till the fat lady sings, as the saying goes. The QVR driver really pushing, although he really doesn't need to, as he will be jumping Palmer in the pit stops, but he doesn't, of course he doesn't know, as he runs slightly wide out of the Andretti hairpin, he doesn't actually know if Palmer is saving much fuel or not. For all he knows, Palmer could have saved loads of fuel and he doesn't have as much, but that fuel gap is still big and Campbell has the advantage for the time being. James Head is in third, Whiteout in fourth, Kyle in fifth. Jax has made a good recovery so far, up to sixth position. I say good recovery, I'm sure it will be a really bittersweet moment, of course, starting on pole, jumping the start, getting a penalty and then being hit off the line for being stationary. Chai's diving up the hall. That's close between those two drivers. V5 coming out the pits there, couldn't quite make the move on Chai's. Looks like V5's actually a lap down on Chai's. He is, yes, he's a lap down on Chai's, so he must have had a big incident earlier on. He had a really slow lap last lap, so he must have had an incident there or something. He had a 3-minute lap time on lap 40. Oh, and that's a big moment there. Oh, that was close, but V5 down in 10th position after a 3-minute lap. I'm not sure what happened there. Obviously not keeping track, as Campbell has got past Palmer, completely missed it. Let's see if we can catch that on the replay. It must have been to the corkscrew. Oh, he must have missed an amazing move there. Wow. Campbell gets past Palmer. I'm really sorry for missing that. We missed the one overtake of the evening, because I was focused on V5's incredible 3-minute lap time. But now Campbell is in command of this race. This is Campbell's to lose now. Campbell's race to lose. Campbell's title to lose. It's all on Campbell now. It's all in his hands, as that's an XL driver pulling over. Conrad Racing has left the room. I believe he was in 11th. So now we only have 10 drivers remaining. So the gaps are spreading quite a bit now. Whiteout was pitted, Chais is in 7th, but there's about a second gap between the top three, about 7/10 of a second between Palmer and James. I'm sure they're really feeling the effects of this heat now. I certainly am. I've got 2 fans on me. My room is the hottest room in the house. I moved my PlayStation up towards my room to commentate because my sim rig, which my PlayStation is normally connected to, is downstairs in my mum's office. So I don't really want to be disturbing her as she works, or I like to have a bit of privacy when I'm commentating. Really get into it and really display all the emotions I can without distracting anyone downstairs. But Campbell in the lead at the moment. A dominant performance so far. As that looks like, is Palmer going into the pits now? No, he's not, as someone is really starting out of the last two corners. Oh, someone has gone off at the final corner. That was Dan. Let's have a look what happened to him there. Drifting through that corner, touches the grass slightly, almost recovers it. He actually, he did really well up until that last bit to almost recover it, but it wasn't quite enough. So I'll get off the replay now. 15 minutes remain in this race. Campbell in control. He's got the most fuel. He's got the freshest tyres. And he is leading this race and leading this title. He's on his way to the LoE GT Sport Porsche Cup title. Very competitive. It's no mean feat to win this title. It's been so close right up until the end of Suzuka. The gap was only 4 to 7 points for the previous rounds before this, but of course a poor race for Palmer at Suzuka really threw his title hopes out of contention as he pulls into the pits now, trying to get that undercut again. So this could be crucial. It's going to be interesting to see if the undercut is potent enough to jump Campbell, even though Campbell will have the shorter pit stop with less fuel to put in his car to make it to the end of the race, unless Palmer has done enough to put in the same amount. But I doubt it. He's got to put in quite a lot of fuel as he's running on fumes, basically. James Head has had a really strong race in second. He's really low on fuel. I don't know if it's going to be close whether see he makes it to the end of this lap or not. He's going to have to fuel save a lot, trying to get that overcut on Palmer, but I don't think it's going to work. He's going to have to fuel save, and he's on the worst tyres. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see if James Head maybe made a mistake by not pitting there. Campbell with by far the most fuel. It's going to be definitely, I can't see anyone but Campbell taking the win. Now Jax's got the fastest lap. A real shame for him that he hasn't been up there in the fight for this race, but you've got to blame him for his own incident, which was jumping at the start and getting a penalty for that. An instant slowdown penalty, which is pretty stupid from the game because you stop right in front of other cars. James Head comes in with 1% fuel remaining, so that was timed to perfection, although he may have lost a bit of time doing some fuel saving on that lap. Palmer is coming across the line now, so he should jump James pretty comfortably, who's gone down to 6th place actually. Let's see where he comes out. Yeah, so Palmer, and looks like Chise has got past as well. James all the way down in 7th position, not where he wants to be. He's lost a lot of time. He must have done a lot of fuel saving on that lap. And I think he's maybe put slightly too much fuel in his car as well. Maybe over-fueling slightly to get to the end of the race. Campbell has a 25-second gap ahead of Palmer behind him. He's probably going to come in this lap. You see his fuel indicator is on red. He hasn't got much fuel left. So let's see if he comes in this lap. He's doing really consistent lap times. Look at that, only 2.5 tenths off his best. As he comes into the pits now. So, is Palmer going to be able to get past him? I really doubt it. He's only come out to the corkscrew now. He's got 25 seconds to make up in this pit stop. Coming down the corkscrew into the final sector under the WeatherTech bridge. He's 4.5 tenths up on his best lap, so he is really pushing now. He's got to. There's nothing else he can do but push to the absolute max. But Campbell's fuel, he just had so much more fuel than Palmer had, and he's got less lap. I dropped my controller and disconnected my mic slightly, but that is Campbell comes out way... Well, Campbell's in 6th. He has come out ahead. Palmer, it's going to be pretty close. But not close enough. 2 seconds is the gap. And that seems to be his title chance over. He needs Campbell to make a mistake now. But of course, that's not what we want to see. We don't want to see a title taken away from a mistake. Of course, Palmer making a few crucial errors at Suzuka, which really cost him in that race. And he spun at Bathurst the round before that as well, or maybe 2 rounds before that. So you've got to say, Palmer, he's been a great driver this season, but when the pressure was on, leading at Bathurst, would have been leading at Suzuka as well. Mistakes have cost him. They've really cost him, and it's a big shame. It really is. But you can't take anything away from Campbell at all. He's been a stunning driver this season. Well, the gap's actually decreased to a second. Can't take anything away from Campbell whatsoever. He has been a great driver this season as well. Had some bad luck of his own. Hasn't really made a mistake all season. Had a few tough rounds in the middle, but he's made a great recovery to get back in to claim a convincing championship so far. Whereas Palmer definitely had the pace and had the skill and had the opportunities to win this title. But you've got to say, these last few races, he's done a good race tonight, but notably Bathurst and Suzuka, mistakes have cost him this title. It's a real shame to say it. He's such a hard-working, driven driver. No pun intended. Of course, only one person can win the title, but it has been a great season to commentate. It's been a great, really interesting battle between Campbell and Palmer. Campbell, of course, having that win, that really dominant win at Barcelona, but then not winning again until Brands Hatch, I believe. But the gap is only now 4/10 of a second, so either Campbell is struggling slightly, or maybe he's trying to put on a show to win the championship. Ultimate confidence, if that's what he's doing. But it looks like he's pulled away again slightly, up to 8.5 tenths of a second. Sorry for the breaks I'm having in between. It is really difficult. I'm really struggling in this heat at the moment, so sorry for that. Please bear with me as much as you can. But we are only 7 minutes away from crowning a champion in this league. We'll come back in a couple of laps' time to witness the end. Unless something dramatic happens, I need a quick water break. So there are 5 minutes remaining of this race. I believe that'll be 4 laps. Campbell in control, about on the brink of winning this GT Sport Championship. A worthy winner, you've got to say, if it all... I don't want to bring any commentators' curse, but you've got to say he has deserved this title. Jackster so far made a great recovery up to 3rd after going down to pretty much last on the first lap from pole position. So he'll probably be pretty happy. Well, he won't be happy, but to be honest, with the pace of Palmer and Campbell, and you've got to say that they are probably 3rd would be potentially, although we haven't really seen much of Jackster, his race has all been about recovery. Potentially this could have been the best result he would have hoped for anyway. But you've got to say he definitely had a big shot of winning this race after that pole position. As we've got another comment on the stream. Few people coming to congratulate Lewis Campbell, of course. 3 laps remaining, including this one of this race. It will be really tough for these guys, and this they've got aircon. Campbell won a pretty much perfect race, really. Had a bit of luck off the start, but everyone needs luck in some form or another to take the victory, to take a win in any motorsport. You do need some form of luck, and Campbell has definitely had that at the start, but apart from that he's run a perfect race, perfect strategy, done all he needs to do, a real champion's drive if it finishes the way it is running at the moment. Still only 3.5 tenths down on his best time. Really consistent lap times. He's done a fabulous job this race, you've got to say. You've got to say he's done an absolutely brilliant job. James Head has left the room. What have we missed there? Oh, maybe he's disconnected there. Or maybe there was an incident. I don't know what's happened to him there. Sorry for missing that. Maybe he had a disconnect. Or maybe he had a rage quit after an incident with someone. But that's not like James. James definitely is not a rage quitter. He is often... He's the first to speak out against people rage quitting, of course, rightly so. I do agree with him, so I highly doubt that he would have quit this race intentionally. He must have had a disconnect or some other issue. Oh no, James has commented saying he spun twice and he gave up on his own accords. Wow. So, controversial moment from James there, who has left the session by his own choice. Really unlike him there. He's usually a sort of the race isn't over until it's over type of guy, type of driver. So I'm really surprised, James, that you've left the race there, but nothing against you, of course. But definitely a surprise, not what I would have expected. But we are on the last lap of the race now. Campbell 4 seconds ahead of his title rival Palmer, about to claim his... I believe I'm not too familiar on the history of the League of Europe GT Sport League, but for the Porsche Cup it looks like it's going to be Campbell. There's no time remaining on the clock. This is the final lap of the race, as we are notified there at the top of the screen. quite a few people joining to congratulate Lewis Campbell on his victory in this race and on this championship. He's about to cross the line now. Oh, as he runs slightly wide. That was almost a spin there at the penultimate corner on the final lap. But he's going to come across the line now on the back straight, pulls over to the left, does a bit of weaving. If he was in that car right now, he'd have his arm out. And he has won this race. And Lewis Campbell wins the League of Europe GT Sport Porsche Cup. If I could bottle that anymore, Lewis Campbell, QVR Campbell, wins the final race of the season. He wins the title. Palmer, second position in this race, second in the standings. Jackster in third. I think that's his best result of the season, maybe joint best, after that poor start from pole position. What could have been maybe, only finished 9.8 seconds behind the leader. Kyle in fourth, Chais in fifth, Whitehouse sixth, J. Cole seventh, V5 eighth. Ninth is Dan. As I will invite Palmer and Jackster to the party. Palmer and, not Jackster, Campbell. As we see, Lewis Campbell, QVR Campbell, wins at Laguna Seca. He wins the League of Europe GT Sport Championship. And what a way to do it. We'll just wait for him to rejoin the party now. As Palmer has joined the party, so we'll kick things off with you, Palmer. Not much more you could have done in that race. How was it for you? Commiserations for missing out on the title, but there was such a dominant performance from Campbell there. It seemed like there was not much more you could have done.
Man, yeah, I'm not disappointed or anything. I think that was probably like the best way to end off the season. Like I said, I was looking forward to a good battle in that. And there wasn't any side-by-side action or anything, but it was definitely good, like a good sort of battle. Of course, Campbell being consistent as ever, managing to keep the tyres alive and managing to keep the pace on the warm tyres, and then of course that extra 2 laps, and then of course me making the tiniest of mistakes, but it was so catastrophic. In the end, of course, it meant that I had to come home in second. In the last pit stop, I was debating whether to go on mediums or softs, but yeah, I think definitely softs was the way to go. They were absolutely shot at the end. Of course, congratulations to Campbell. To be honest, I think going on to next season, of course, I've got to work on being more consistent, because I think Campbell is probably one of the most consistent drivers I've ever had to battle against in a championship. Hopefully next season is like a one-make championship again, because I really, really enjoyed this. Of course, with like the past 2 races now, of course, I've been quite disappointed with like my results and that, but that's just how motor racing is. Even if it's just on the game. In a boiling hot room, of course, I would have loved to take the win, of course, on the last race, and of course, I keep looking back and thinking, if I didn't get that penalty in Italy, if I didn't spin in Bathurst, if I didn't have all those incidents in like Spa and Suzuka, then maybe I could have had a chance. But in the end, of course, I'm still very, very happy with second place. Of course, Campbell was just the better driver in the end and more consistent driver.
Well, of course, humble in defeat there. A great season. Unfortunate not to take it at the end, but we'll move on to the title winner, the race winner, QVR Campbell. How was that race for you, and how was that season for you, and how do you feel?
Well, first of all, the race, it couldn't have gone any better maybe. The only slight thing that went wrong was I overfueled by a few laps at the final stop, which made it a bit closer than I would have liked. But apart from that, yeah, it was near perfect. Qualifying was just not great. We can gloss over that and quickly move on. The season as a whole, really happy with, really consistent, constantly like getting the results I need to obviously find myself in this position at the end of the season. Although one thing on Palmer is, I personally thought you were quicker on raw pace than me. Throughout the season, I feel like you've actually been quicker on raw pace rather than what I've been, but I've had to be really consistent to get this done, and I'm really happy I managed to get it.
I'm not too familiar on the history of the League of Europe GT Sport. Is this your first title win that GT Sport of League of Europe?
I won it last season as well, so I've managed to go back to back. Quite happy with that as well.
Back-to-back titles. So, how does it feel comparing last titles to this one?
This one definitely feels a lot more hard fought because of the expanding to 2 tiers. The gap between drivers is a lot smaller. And also I'd have to work much harder for it this season. Just on I've had to put more practice in and whatever to come out on top. So it's a lot. This feels better than the first one.
Brilliant stuff. Well, it's been a great season, a worthy winner, and it was a great fight right up until the end. Really good season to commentate on, and hopefully next season will be much the same. But thank you for watching this season and this race. It's been a real pleasure to work on and watch you guys race. So congratulations to Campbell, commiserations to Palmer, and thanks everyone for a great season. We'll see you next time.